Level 4, returning to center, elementally intuitive movement, intuitive movement 101. Hi, I'm Mar, still getting the hang of this thing. This thing being elementally functional family fitness, and this thing being the body that I live in. But that's part of the fun of being human, is getting the hang of these bodies that we're in. It can be uncomfortable at times, but if we approach it as a game, then it's less challenging. At least that's how I experience it. That's what's part of the basis of elementally fun family fitness. It's functional for me. Elementally functional family fitness. Well, yeah, because anything that I don't enjoy, I recognize that it is my resistance, my opinion about what I'm doing, my lack of enjoyment about what I'm doing, that makes it so challenging for me. Because many times simple things will feel much more challenging than they need to, honestly, because they're little things, but because of my opinion, I have resistance to it. And when I have resistance to it, I feel tension and stress. And when I feel tension and stress, I feel discomfort. And so that's the thing there. So if I look at that which causes discomfort and stress and frustration and say, okay, is this really a danger to me? Is this really hurting me? Is this really a thing that I need to be concerned about? No, okay. Then it's just me. It's my opinion about it. So I recognize that since it's my opinion about it, I can change my opinion about it. That's free will. We can change our opinions. That's awesome. So for me, I find a way to make it fun. I give it a significance that makes it fun and important for me. Everybody can do it in their own way for themselves because everybody's different. What's fun for you may not be what's fun for me. And that's fine, because we're all different, and that's okay. As long as what's fun for you doesn't harm you or harm anybody else, without consent anyhow, because some people, what one person may perceive as harm, another person may perceive as enjoyment when it's done with consent, because they want it, versus when it's not with consent. And that's a big important thing. Anyhow, so returning to center, we have our level O, where we're exploring, we're getting to know our guide, which is our hands and our arms, and following that to guide our motion. Level 1, we found our center. So we found it and we know where we are in space. Level 2, we expanded into our spheres. So we know how to move freely through space, regardless of what position our feet are in, because we've experimented with different ways to have our feet planted. And we know that we don't necessarily need a lot of space to access a lot of motion and get a lot of mobilization in our bodies. Level 3, we started picking up our feet and adding more motion, force to what we're doing, because by adding that movement, we're putting more force on our body. By putting more force on our body, we're putting more stress on our bones, more stress on our joints, which is wonderful for developing bodies, because our bones and our joints need that stress as we're growing to build healthy bone tissue and to help build healthy cartilage tissue and support tissue. And the motion keeps lubrication. That's how we keep our vessels lubricated and loose. So that's important. Level 4, we are now returning to center. Today is rainy. I have the water element adding another challenge, so I'm in a different space. And I have a very limited amount of space to work with, that's clear, but that's all right, because returning to center does not necessarily require a lot of space, because now we're balancing. So we're mixing in our O's, our 1s, our 2s, with balancing poses. And by moving our upper bodies around, we're destabilizing our lower bodies. Now at this point, I really have to think about my breath and my core support, because the only way I'm going to be able to maintain that balance is if I'm supporting my body well here, which we're going to get into, I believe the next 3 weeks is core support. It's going to be either feet or core. I haven't quite decided. I can't, they're both equally important in their foundations. We'll see. And so while we're doing level 4, we don't have to stay balanced the whole time. We can return to our level 0 through 2 stationary positions and maybe just add some bend to it. So now we're still balancing by changing elevations. And that is level 4 as well. So technically, if you were practicing a lot of elevation change while you were doing your level 0 through 1, while you were exploring space, you were already doing some level 4. But level 4, we're now, that picking up the feet takes that balancing challenge to a new level. The more slowly we move, the more stable we're going to be. The more quickly that we're moving with our upper bodies, the more we're going to destabilize our lower bodies and give ourselves more of a balanced stability challenge. I say alternate. When you start out, you may want to start out close to a wall, close to a table, so you have something to reach out to get support. Eventually, you'll build enough core strength that you can just move erratically. Breath, breathing, so important. It's been interesting getting to do the research for this curriculum because I've learned more about breath and the importance of nasal breathing than I realized. I gleaned a lot more information, and it reinforced to me the importance of recognizing how when we make statements, what ideas we have, whatever it is that we feel or think, especially something that we're expressing and sharing to others, it may be a good idea to fact check ourselves on. Because A, we can do that now because of this shared consensus thing. B, gives us an opportunity to practice discernment as we sort through what's out there to find the thread of truth that makes sense, that brings things together, if that makes sense. So when we check ourselves, we look and we see, has the information changed since the last time we were informed of that idea that we have decided to pass on to someone else? One of the aspects of wearing masks that I think is wonderful is how it forces us to really think about what we're going to say, because it's uncomfortable to speak with a mask on. So when it's uncomfortable to speak with a mask on, we're more likely to breathe through our noses because it's a more comfortable environment for our faces when we're breathing through our noses. And that is a much more effective way to breathe anyhow. And then we are more conscientious about what we're going to say. Because of the discomfort of speaking, it cuts back on unnecessary speaking. And perhaps by the time we can speak freely around each other without masks on, we will have learned how to be more conscious of the language that we use, how we communicate with each other, the tone that we use, our facial expressions. The language that we're using when we're expressing our boundaries and needs. Because that mask made us think about it. I would think that, I don't know, this just struck me. A lot of people on the autism spectrum have had to mask to fit in, to try to just make it in society. And I was fortunate with a chameleon subtype to be able to adapt uncomfortably so to the world. And then I got to a point where I decided I'm not doing that anymore. I prefer to mold my vessel in the shape that is most comfortable for me to be. And that vessel is one that is fluidly changing and shifting and integrating. But having to wear that social mask makes you think about stuff. You live inside your head a little bit more, maybe. So now having to physically wear a mask gives other people an opportunity to understand what it feels like to have to live with a mask. And the discomfort of having to live with a mask on. And how we do it for our own survival and also to make you less uncomfortable with us. Because primarily we don't do it for you, we do it for us. I mean, we do it for us, we do it for you. I mean, it's the same thing, it goes both ways. If we weren't made to be felt, if it wasn't so uncomfortable to be ourselves, we wouldn't have to mask. But we mask because other people react to how we are so disapprovingly that we then continue masking so that we don't receive that disapproval, because disapproval and rejection hurts. Rejection is painful. And when you're on the autism spectrum, emotions can be physically painful because of how intensely people on the spectrum can feel their emotions. Not everyone, I don't speak for everyone, but I speak for myself and a few other people that I know who have expressed the same thing. Our feelings are very, very strong. They're very, very loud. And I've been working on turning down the volume on the information coming into my nervous system, and recognizing how my emotional response and my reactions to the information that's coming into my nervous system exacerbates my physical discomfort because of the tension and resistance. So every time I don't like something vehemently, there's resistance and there's tension and there's holding in my body. Whereas if I just don't have an opinion about it either way and just accept it's what it is, and then as long as I'm safe, really safe, attempt to find a way to make it fun for myself, then bam, game on. I made it a game, and now I can adapt, because the game is observe, adapt, learn. That's the life game. That's the goal. Observe, adapt, learn. So as long as I just remember that and keep my objectives in order and play the game as fat cat as possible. So that's patient, helpful, appreciative, transitional, kind, authentic, and transparent. Try to be a hoopty, which is happy, open, observant, playful, timeless, embracing everything self. Takes a while to learn to embrace everything, but that's okay. I can be a hoop cat in the meantime. Or car, it's conscientious, aware, respectful. Hey, yeah, that's not being respectful. My doggy's being dominant, little dog. Hey, stop that, please. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir, please. Please be kind. Please be kind. Yeah. All the way, all around, all of us. Kind. So that's level 4, returning to center, balancing poses. Thank you very much. And level 5, we get to put it all together without having to think about it. Intuitive integration.